Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the global community of women in high school sports, We Coach, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, and the Florida Coaches Coalition. These are four great organizations. You should find out more about them, so check them out. And now don't fast forward. Stay with us for 3 minutes and listen to our sponsors. Shout outs. They're all great sponsors, and you should check them out too. So give us 3 minutes. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Go to hometownticketing.com, and they're going to show you how to set up and sell tickets for your events online, not just athletic events, but things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And every step of the way, Hometown Ticketing is going to supply you with a dedicated success manager that's going to help you with hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com and get started today. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to thank Snap Mobile. Snap Mobile is the parent company for an entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an athletic director. Go to snapraise.com and check them out. There is Snap Store, Snap Connect, Snap Manage, and of course there's Snap Raise, the fundraising platform. We've used it with tremendous success, and so can you. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anybody else offers that. Go to snapraise.com and check them out today. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com right now and schedule a live web demo and see their tables and their boards in action. It's one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director. Their products not only generate income for your department, but also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and check them out today. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating world-class content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. Tell them you heard about it on our podcast and use our code ADPOD10, and you'll get 10% off. That's Gipper.com. Create custom content for your school's social media channel. We want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. The Wall of Fame is an interactive touchscreen video console that is going to highlight your school's top performers, both past and present, in athletics, academics, and the arts. But the Wall of Fame is so much more than that. It's an extensive content program that helps you tell more compelling stories that'll better engage your audience. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and check out their great products. And when you're ready to buy, use the link vitalsignswalloffame.com/Jake and you'll get a 5% discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com/Jake. Check them out today. We also want to thank Huddle for their support. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. Huddle is going to supply your school, your teams, your coaches, and your athletes with the tools that they need to play at the highest level. Go to huddle.com and you're going to find a professional solution for the challenges that you and your coaches face. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to say thanks to Final Forms. Go to finalforms.com/Jake and prepare for your best season ever. Final Forms is there to help your stakeholders, your coaches, and you. Final Forms can help whether you're an athletic director, an IT professional, or a superintendent. So go to finalforms.com/Jake. Check them out today. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors typically only hear from that 2%, a disgruntled parent or maybe a frustrated student athlete. And we need to hear from those people. But you also need to hear from the 98% that love and support your program. And that's where Athletic Surveys comes in. They can create a custom survey for your athletic department to help you take the pulse of your student athletes and your parents. So go to athleticsurveys.com and check them out today. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Marques Ogden. Marques is a former NFL player. He's an author, a consultant, a coach. He also hosts his own podcast. We're going to hear about all of that. But Marques Ogden, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you very much, Jake. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you and I were connected through a mutual friend, Misty Buck, and excited to hear about what you have done. Of course, want to hear about your NFL career too, but we always like to start out and let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So, give us that quick bio: where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your high school and college days, and then we'll take a quick break and hear more about your career. But what's the Marques Ogden origin story?
Thanks, Jake. So I'm from Washington, D.C. I went to St. John's College High School. Kevin Plank, who owns Under Armour, went to that high school. Phenomenal guy. We had the same high school football coach in John Ricca, and it was really, really awesome in that regard. And what I loved about Catholic high school, but it had a lot of diversity, like white, black, Hispanic, all types of people were at St. John's. So it was phenomenal. And I played football there. I played wrestling. Well, I wrestled as well, but not for only 1 year. And I played football for the cadets, and I loved it. I loved playing for the cadets. We played people like DeMatha, Gonzaga, Carroll, like all the big schools in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. So I had a great experience. And then, unfortunately, though, for me, I didn't get a lot of recruiting. I didn't get a lot of people looking at me. And a lot of that was my fault, not having a lot of film go out, not doing all those things, right, Jake? And I ended up being in a position of like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I literally thought, Jake, my career was over after high school. Then I get a call from Howard University. Steve Wilson, who played at Howard, played for the Broncos and the Cowboys under Tom Landry, was the head coach, came to my parents' home or my dad's home and said, hey, Mr. Ogden, Mrs. Ogden, we believe Marques could be an NFL lineman. He's that good. He needs to get developed and learn how to play like a real aggressive player. We want to give him a full scholarship. Took the full scholarship, Jake, went to Howard University. I was like, oh, if I get a year or two starting, that'd be cool. Became a 4-year starter for the Bison, and I was drafted into the National Football League, Jake, by the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2003. And it was last October, Jake, I was inducted to the Howard Athletic Hall of Fame as a football player. We've only had 146 athletes go into our Hall of Fame in our 155-year history of Howard University.
Wow. I mean, there's so many, I think, kids that have dreams of playing in the NFL. A lot of times their parents have those dreams for them. And it just goes to show you there's a lot of different pathways to achieve that success. Take us back to those high school days, though. I'm curious, did you have any inkling that, Division I college and even NFL was in your future?
Not a chance, Jake. Not a chance, because my brother, Jonathan Ogden, who was the Ravens' first draft pick in 1996, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer in the National Football League, was 6'9" in the 8th grade. So he had every Division I school offer him, every single one. Me, I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody offering me. I didn't have anybody, saying, hey, we want you to come play for our school. I didn't have any of that. So for me, it was really like, hey, I want to play football. I want to have fun. I like who I'm playing with. I like my teammates. I like my friends. And I was really about having fun and just having some fun in football, playing football, right, with my buddies. So I never even thought Division I was a possibility. And when Howard showed up, I'm like, oh, they're probably not going to offer it. It's going to want me to walk on because Maryland wanted me to walk on, but I couldn't afford to go to college, so that wasn't going to happen, right? So when Howard said, we're prepared to give you a full scholarship, I was like, okay, I'm playing football now, and I'm now going from a high school athlete to a college athlete.
That's funny. I look at my high school career. I was an okay athlete, but I knew in my head that one day I was going to be in the NFL. And I joke that, injuries along with a lack of talent kept me out of the NFL. Played some small college ball, but that's such a great story. I mean, just, it just keeps getting better. Very cool. For our listeners, our guest today is Marques Ogden, NFL player, author, consultant, podcast host. We're going to hear more about that, but let's go ahead and take our first break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Go to hometownticketing.com, and they are going to show you how to set up and sell tickets at your school for events, not just athletic events, but things like school concerts, school plays and dances, even graduation. Go to hometownticketing.com, and they'll also provide you with a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's hometownticketing.com. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Snap Mobile is the parent company for an entire suite of platforms designed to help you as an athletic director do your job better. There's Snap Store, Snap Manage, Snap Connect, and of course there's Snap Raise, their fundraising platform. We've used Snap Raise with great success, and so can you. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anyone else offers that. Go to snapraise.com for more information. Snapraise.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're visiting today with Marques Ogden. Marques, you kind of took us up through your college years and getting drafted. Let's hear about that NFL experience. What was that like coming out of college, and how did those years as a player, shape your career now?
So, great question, Jake. So, I was drafted by Jack Del Rio. He was a rookie head coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and James Shaq Harris was in personnel development. He was one of the first African American quarterbacks in the National Football League, played at Grambling under Eddie Robinson. And playing in the NFL, Jake, was awesome. Great friends, great guys, great camaraderie. I learned a lot about discipline and focus and hard work and showing up and being reliable and building trust and being empathetic, and all those skills that I learned from great players like my brother, Ray Lewis, and Reed, to guys like Eric Moulds, to guys like Chris Kelsey, London Fletcher, to guys like I played with Vince Young, and I played with guys like Michael Roos, and then of course in Jacksonville I played with guys like Aiken Ayodele and Big John Henderson, Marcus Stroud, Maurice Williams. I learned a lot about how to deal with people, right, Jake? And how to really bring to the table what you do well and capitalize on that. And when I figured out how to do that, right, Jake, that's when things got better for me, because I was able to put into my mainframe how to connect with people, how to bring value, and how to do my job. And the NFL taught me a whole lot about how to also overcome and deal with adversity.
Yeah, again, I think from the casual fan, even someone like myself, as a high school and college coach, I don't think they can understand, that daily routine of an NFL player. They look at the TV and you say, "Oh boy, that must be great," but there's got to be a lot of challenges going into that, I guess, career. Anything stick out for you that maybe surprised you when you first came into the league, or maybe as you were finishing up your career?
What surprised me, Jake, when I first got there is the speed of the game, right? everybody was big and fast. And playing at Howard, I had a lot of guys that were either or. Very rarely did I ever find a big, fast player, right? There was guys that were really big and strong and could plug a hole, or guys that had great speed, great edge rushers, great, in that regard, right? But in the NFL, when I saw guys like John Henderson, 6'7", 340, running like a 4'9", and Marcus Stroud, 6'6", 320, running a 4'9", 4'8", and guys like, Tony Brackens or guys like Ikenai Adeli playing DN, like 240, running a 4'4". I'm like, wow, this is a lot different than what I thought. And I adjusted quickly. Not quickly, I adjusted over time, let's say. But what I realized now is, wow. And the game, it just keeps getting bigger and faster and bigger and faster with the guys. Like, I saw, I think there's a guy who was like 290, like a four, almost like a four, like a sub 4.5 in the 40. I'm like, 290 running sub 4.5? That's insane, right? But that's the game today. And so what I learned when I left the game is making it is one thing, right, Jake? But staying is another. And that was a really hard thing I had to learn as I exited out that, wow, I got really fortunate, but man, it's super hard to stay in the NFL once you are there because everybody wants your job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's that fine line between the guys that are, maybe starting and wanting that starting position, or that last man on the roster, and the 12 or 13, 14 players that are on the practice squad. I heard this question and it intrigued me. So it's not mine, but I'm going to go and ask it anyway. Looking at yourself, were you an athletic player who was smart, football smart, or were you a smart player who was also athletic? Does that make sense?
It does. I was a smart player who was also athletic. I always relied upon my intelligence, especially playing O lineman, angles and sets and circumference and how to really study opponents. So I was very, very smart, but I also was a great athlete. So I always relied on my smarts first. Film study, breaking guys down, looking at things, understanding what guys are probably going to do in certain downs and tendencies and situations, and bringing that type of knowledge to the game was what helped me have almost a 6-year career.
I love it. You have written a very successful book about your playing days. Let's go and share that with the listeners. How did that come about? And then, of course, how can they get their own copy?
Sure. I wrote 2 big books, right? Well, the first one was Sleepless Nights, the NFL, a Business and a Family. That was written to kind of share my story, my autobiography about who I am, what I've been through in that regard. And that was a great book. And that's on, you can go on, Amazon or barnesandnoble.com and pick up a copy. And then my second book was called The Success Cycle, which talks about 3 major things, right, Jake? Ambition, drive, and hard work. How to bring ambition to all that you do, how to be driven and inspired to do something better than you did yesterday, and hard work. Focus on yourself and not the competition.
Let's go and talk about the Sleepless Nights first of all. As that was coming together, was it easy to recall and share those stories? Anything challenging for you as you were putting that together?
Oh yeah, of course. Like touching on things like when my father passed away, and Jake, I lost everything in business after my NFL career. Built an 8-figure business, lost it all in 90 days. Having to relive those days of like going to the store and having credit cards or bank cards or credit cards not work. Bank cards were like, how I have to kind of take 20 from here, 20 from there. Having no money when I moved to Raleigh, after losing everything. Oh yeah, I mean it was rough. It was really rough, and it was really hard in that regard. So absolutely, recanting those stories was a lot.
since you opened that door, I'm going to jump in. You see on ESPN, and different TV shows that the NFL does, or I guess tries to do, rookie orientation and talking about financial planning and things like that. Did those things happen for you? And I guess maybe if they did, why weren't they effective in this case?
Oh yeah, it's crazy, right? It's like for me, it wasn't that I did anything wrong. I didn't overspend. I wasn't like, flashy. I lost mine, right, Jake, in business, in a construction company, and I got really arrogant, really pompous. I had a huge ego. You couldn't tell me jack, and my ego caused my demise. And I'm really big on that because I tell people all the time to succeed in business and keep going, you have to have an unbreakable mindset, and you have to remove your ego. It's not even a question. You have to. And so what I tell people is learn how to check your ego at the door, because we all have an ego, but never let it get bigger than the good part of your soul. And if you can put that into display, right, Jake, everything else will take care of itself.
I think that's probably the answer to a lot of questions in life. If you can check that ego somewhere, we're all guilty of that. Let's go and talk about success, though. Your second book, The Success Cycle. Obviously, we have a limited time on the podcast. What are two or three, sound bites that you would want to share with one of our listeners to let them know, hey, you should go out and add this book to your library?
What I would say is that I'm a person that has success, then lost everything, and now I've rebuilt my life on a new perspective of fulfillment, like understanding like why I do things on the outside that match who I am on the inside. And this book will help you to really redefine ambition. It'll help you to kind of feel more driven. It'll help you start to focus on yourself, not the competition. So this book will be a really nice value add to anybody looking to get themselves back on track that might have fallen off the wagon like I did because certain circumstances got in the way.
Okay. No, hey, absolutely. And once again, those two books, Sleepless Nights in the NFL, and then the second book, Success Cycle. The author is Marques Ogden, who's our guest today. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor scoring tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and check out their products. Schedule a live web demo to see their tables and their boards in action. They not only generate income for your athletic department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to gipper.com and see how athletic directors are creating world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you don't need any design experience. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to gipper.com and use our podcast code ADPOD10, and you'll get 10% off. That's gipper.com. Create custom content for your school's social media channels. And we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Bring your school's legacy to life with a Wall of Fame interactive touchscreen video console. It's going to highlight your school's top performers, both past and present, in athletics, academics, and the arts, but it's so much more than that. The Wall of Fame's also an extensive content program that's going to help you tell more compelling stories that'll better engage your stakeholders. Use the link vitalsignswalloffame.com/Jake to not only check out their great products, but also get 5% off your purchase. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com/Jake. Check them out today. Welcome back, everyone. We're visiting today with Marques Ogden, former NFL player, author, consultant, coach, and podcast host. Let's talk about those endeavors now. You're on your way as we speak to a speaking engagement. You work as a consultant, and as I mentioned, you also host your very own popular podcast. How did those ventures get started, and what do you see happening down the road?
That's a great question, Jake. So basically, what started was I had my rock bottom moment in 2013 as a custodian, taking the trash out because I lost everything in my construction company. And after that moment, I ended up saying, you know what? I got to get my life together. So I said, what can I do? I'm a good storyteller. I'm a good communicator. I want to help people. Let's start speaking. That's what I did. And so I started speaking in 2013, September. First 2.5 years, right, Jake? Not one paid job, zero. Finally got my first paid job in April of 2016, 2.5 years later. Then I went to a program that's called NAPSA at Penn State that the NFL had a partnership with. And that program, Jake, changed my life. It made me a much better communicator, speaker, instructor, whatever you want to call it, right? So in the last, let's say really, 5 years now, right? Well, 6.5 years to be exact, when we got our first paid job, right, Jay? We've worked for almost 50, it's 48 to be exact, Fortune 500 companies as a speaker, 48. We've written 2 best-selling books. We co-authored 2 other bestsellers. We're a 4-time best-selling author. I coach a lot of people. I'm a brand ambassador. I own parts of different businesses that align with our brand. And I'm also a podcast host. But, right, Jake, everything I have done and rebuilt since 2013 was predicated off of speaking.
Yeah. The name of your podcast is called Get Authentic with Marques. Let our listeners know a little bit about it, and of course, how they can become listeners and subscribers.
So that's awesome. So the podcast, again, is called Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. It's on every major platform: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, Stitcher, Pandora, YouTube, of course. And the main theme of our show, right, Jake, is amazing people with amazing, authentic stories. That's what we're about. We're about people sharing their stories and saying, hey, here I am, and this is who I am. And sharing it with authenticity, which means when I ask you a question, be real, open, and honest. And also be vulnerable, which means share your story when I don't ask you a certain question, because you're helping our audience get past their issues, their trauma, their hardships. And again, Jake, we launched June 22nd of last year. We are ranked in the top 1% most popular podcast in the world. We got that in 7.5 months' time. We've put out some great episodes with some amazing people, celebrities and athletes and business owners and leaders. And again, one common theme, right, Jake? Amazing people with amazing stories.
Yeah. Again, that name of that podcast, Get Authentic with Marques Ogden, check it out on your podcast provider. On a much smaller scale, we try to do the same thing with our little podcast. We say every athletic director has a story. Let's share yours. Let's have you brag about your teams, your coaches, and your kids. And we've certainly had a lot of fun with it. And hearing those stories, like yours today, is just one of the reasons that I keep doing it. It's got to be fun to be able to have people share their story with you.
Oh, absolutely, Jake. Because here's what happened. Okay, Jake, do you know who celebrity chef Robert Irvine is?
Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
I interviewed him yesterday, and at 15 and a half, Jake, he was put into the Navy by his parents. He was a troubled kid. People don't realize this. I didn't either. He's a chef. he's also, like, he calls himself a problem solver. He speaks for companies and Fortune 500 and small and the military. He bleeds patriotism, like bleeds it, like the cloth of our veterans and our active duty members. He's all about it. And we talked about how he's become this individual that is known for cooking, but he took that and became a person that can solve problems.
Wow. I'm definitely going to have to check that episode out. It's kind of a
Yeah,
cliche in my profession, athletic directors. We see ourselves as problem solvers, because there's always something coming up. A bus is late or the officials don't show up or, the concession stand's not working. Certainly not, life-changing episodes, but it's what we do. We try to solve problems. Um, Marques, we're going to do this again, but for our listeners, we are visiting with Marques Ogden, a former NFL player, successful author, consultant, coach, and podcast host. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, find out more about what you do, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you and your organization?
they can email me at Marques, Marques, at Marques Ogden, Ogden.com. They can also go to our website, Jake, MarquesOgden.com, or follow us on social or Instagram at Marques Ogden, LinkedIn, Marques Ogden. We're on Twitter at Marques_Ogden, Facebook Marques Ogden. We're on TikTok at Marques Ogden 7171. And again, Jake, like, we're all about people. So, like, our interview with Robert Irvine, it airs this Friday, or airs on March the 10th, and it's exciting because people know him as who he is, like this chef and all stuff, right? But I got to know him as a human being and a dad and a husband and a child growing up from under his parents, and I loved it. Just loved everything he was talking about. So again, that's who we are, Jake, and that's who I am. I'm a people person. And three things that Robert said make great leaders, which I agree with 100%. I say in the same thing with different type of way. Empathetic leadership, remove your ego, build trust with your people. If you do those three things, right, Jake, and Robert agrees, and I agree with him wholeheartedly, you could be successful. So again, reach out to us, check out our podcast. We're very blessed to have people that love it, and our listeners and our guests and our sponsors, and we're all about spreading positive messages from positive people.
Yeah. We'll give those sites out again at the end of the interview. But again, Get Authentic with Marques Ogden. That's the name of the podcast. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back with some more with our guests. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the smart cameras, the mobile apps. Of course, they love the analytics, but there's so much more, and Huddle's going to provide your school, your coaches, and your teams with the tools that they need to perform at the highest level. It's a complete professional-grade solution. Go to huddle.com and see why we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Final Forms for their support. Go to finalforms.com and they're going to show you how to prepare for your best seasons ever. Whether you're an athletic director, an IT professional, even a school superintendent, Final Forms can help you, your stakeholders, your coaches, and you with the challenges you face. For athletic directors, Final Forms can help your parents with things like reminders on policies and physicals. They can help your coaches with communication and even their own certification management. And for you as an athletic director, they can help with the eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. It's time that you talk to a team that's walked in your shoes, somebody who gets it. For more information, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake and get started with final forms. Welcome back, everyone, to our visit with Marques Ogden on the Educational AD podcast. Marques, one of our long-standing talking points revolves around the idea of social awareness. And I know that's a big umbrella, but how can an athletic director or a coach or a leader do a better job of being socially aware for their community? Do you have any ideas for us?
Absolutely, I do, Jake. Learn how to listen and gather information from diverse people, right? People of different ethnic backgrounds, social backgrounds, other statuses, right? Learn how to listen to them. Learn how to take what they're saying and what they're about and process that whole process of where they're coming from and who they are, and more importantly, right, Jake, what they need in order to get where they want to go. So an athletic director who's trying to have more community image and a better representation, right, needs to do a really good job of engaging people from different backgrounds, cultures, experiences, life experiences, all these different factors, right, Jake? And then that will help you to understand whom you're talking to, whom you're dealing with, and that should help you become better as you're trying to be more aware and more active in your community.
Again, we hear it so often about the importance of connection and listening. For yourself, is that something that you've always had that skill, or was that something that you had to develop?
It's a skill that I always had, but when I lost my construction company, I really became aware of how bad I lost sight of that gift. And losing that gift, right, Jake, cost me everything. So now in my work, I'm much more aware and I really lean on that gift, but I also train myself daily to listen to people, not try to cut people off, try to listen to understand, not to just respond. And these are things that I really am big on because these are factors and things, right, Jake, that make me a better person, a better father, a better individual that you can what? Work with and know that when you talk to me, right, Jake, I'm actually listening to you. It's not just going in one ear and out the other.
Yeah. Listening was one of those skills that I heard about very early in my career, but it took me far too long to realize how important it was. And then, to actually begin using it as it should be. So I'm envious of those people that have always had that tool, if you will, which is a great transition to our final segment. I wish we had more time to spend with you, but we do appreciate you spending time with us today. We always wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're not an athletic director, but you certainly know your way around the world of athletics. So we're going to take our final break, and we're going to hear from Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Marques Ogden is going to put into his new athletic director toolbox. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic directors typically only hear from that 2%, that squeaky wheel parent, or maybe it's a frustrated athlete, and we need to hear from them so we can affect positive change in our program. But we also need to hear back from the 98% that really love and support our programs, and that's where Athletic Surveys comes in. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to show you how to create a custom survey for your athletic department to allow you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with that frustrated parent or your principal or your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com and get started today. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We have been having a great time listening to Marques Ogden. As a former NFL player, successful author, speaker, consultant, and a podcast host. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let him put 3 things in their toolbox. So, Marques, what 3 items are going to go into your athletic director toolbox?
So the 3 items are going to be ambition, drive, and hard work. Be ambitious and be forward thinking and innovative about what you want to do and how you want to make the athletics of the school different. Be driven, understand it's going to be a long process. It's not going to happen overnight. Be driven and inspired, make a change, and don't get frustrated or upset by the minutia or the things that hold you back on a daily basis. Keep going and hard work. Know what the other schools are doing, but focus on your school. Focus on your coaches, your athletes, and bring it from there. And then 2 additional tools. Our book, The Success Cycle, for sure. It'll help you to be able to say those things and be able to preach those things and teach those things on a daily basis as athletic director. And then our podcast, the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show, will give you great information, great knowledge from different people and stories around how to be better and how to push for more in your life. So again, ambition, drive, hard work, our book, The Success Cycle, and our podcast, The Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show.
Well, I love them all, and again, love you giving out the book and the podcast. But that triple play: ambition, be driven, and then hey, don't forget, hey, it's hard work, regardless of what you're doing. You got to put the time in. Great stuff. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, and listeners, I think you got a tremendous resource here. What's the best way they can get a hold of you, find the podcast, and get a copy of the books?
They can go to our website, www.marques, M-A-R-Q-U-E-S, Ogden, O-G-D-E-N.com. And you can find our podcast there, books there, or email me at marques@marquesogden.com. And I will personally get back in touch with you to chat about what you're going through, what you might need help with.
Boy, once again, Marques, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. All the best in your continued endeavors. And, hopefully we can get you back on in a while for an update.
Look forward to it, my friend. Thanks a lot, Jake. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
For our listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the videos to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Come back next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, and make sure you check out Get Authentic with Marques on all podcast providers. We'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. Please come back next time. Also, don't forget to check out our podcast partners and our sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.